highlight reel, isn't he? Human highlight reel.
I love the little, whether it's good or bad, the little that he does after everything. It's like, little. That's how I feel watching it. What just happened?
Yeah, it's just his sevens experience, I guess. He's just playing out of his skin.
He knows where space is. I feel like,
Yeah.
like rugby league IQ, still learning obviously, but yeah, he knows where space is or where it's going to be or how to create it. The little wraparounds and flicks and
Little backyard footy stuff.
I don't know how he got back up off the deck. He got bloody tackled into row 3 when
Hit
he
hard.
when he passed back inside and he ends up scoring.
Oh, man.
Shout out, Marky Mark.
All right. No Roosters this week. After that segue, they're on the
Yeah,
bye.
eat shit, Mark. No, just-
Yeah. Put your feet up, big dog. You've earned a rest. But we do have some big games of footy. We've got a full slate back after State of Origin.
Thank God.
Yes. And we're going to start on Thursday night this week. Penrith Panthers v the Canterbury Bulldogs.
An absolute banger.
Aren't Penrith back in a big way?
Yeah, they've very suddenly snuck back into the 8, haven't they? They 8? Yeah, 8th at the moment.
Currently 8th, 4th in the betting favourites to win the comp.
$13
Once again,
something?
$13 after being all the way down the bottom quite some time.
Yep.
$2.20 underdogs here. Just quietly, I think they could beat the Bulldogs this week.
I think they can beat the Bulldogs too. I've backed a few teams this year who I thought could beat the Bulldogs, but it turned out I was wrong, or the Bulldogs proved me wrong. But
Those teams haven't won 4 comps in a row.
yeah,
though.
they haven't. I think there's some upside in the Panthers here. They a massive win against the Wars over there last week without all their Origin stars. Scott Sorensen was immense. Mitch Kenny was really good. They're going to miss Scott Sorensen this week, but they get back all their Origin reps, and I just like the way Penrith are working into their game. Their defence is improving. They're still leaking probably another try or two more than they would like or than we've seen in previous years, but they're staying in the grind. Those inexperienced guys who are struggling under pressure and making poor panic decisions to start the year, I think they're slowly finding what works for them. Look at guys like Blaze Talangi last week was integral in targeting what ended up a bit of a weakness in the Warriors line. Metcalf, Moala Graham-Taufa and Dallin were all injured or on debut on that right edge, and Talangi and the Panthers did a good job. They cashed in 3 times. The Dogs probably aren't going to give them that spot to target.
No, their defense is incredible.
So good. Them and Canberra are the best at the moment at absorbing pressure with their defence. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm happy to be with Penrith at the line here, or either team 1 to 12. My old splinters in the bum bet.
Splinters in the bum.
I think this is going to be close. I think those Origin guys coming back for Penrith after having that week off is going to be of huge benefit to them. I'm still worried about what Canterbury can do, especially Jacob Preston back in the side. He was really good for them the week before. On that right edge, he'll make a target of Blaze Talangi. So if you're a Doggies fan, I think there's value in Jacob Preston to barge over. But yeah, I'm going to take either team by 12.5 or less. I think this is going to be a really close grind.
Fair enough. Where do you reckon Galvin plays this week?
Well, that's the other one we were just talking, wasn't it? This is Tuesday morning, so we don't know. Burton, Galvin, and Sexton, where do they work? How does it all fit in? Sexton had played some of the best footy of his whole career in the last 2 weeks, with Galvin coming off the bench or them starting in the halves together last week. There's some things for Serraldo to figure out. I don't know. What about you? What do you think? Where's he playing?
Oh, he's probably the half. I don't know.
Starting.
Serraldo's just created this massive headache for himself that was unnecessary, but,
Is it going to implode? We're all cheering on it to implode from the outside in.
They're the Bulldogs. Who knows?
The way they got around him on debut when he scored that try suggests that they're a pretty happy group.
Always back the storyline is what I'm hearing. Speaking of storylines, great segue. I've nailed this once again.
Professional.
Dragons v Eels on Saturday afternoon, the Clint Gutherson Bowl.
The Clint Gutherson Cup. We want another Gutherino. We didn't see it earlier this year.
Didn't see it. This is the second time they've played each other this year.
Yep.
Gutho did score in that first one. Dragons are $1.67 to Paras $2.20. At time of record, price is subject to change.
Yep. Where's Brown? Where's Moses? We still don't know. I think Moses will be out a little bit.
Yeah, he's out for. I think he misses the whole Origin series, so we won't see him.
Look, I was pretty keen on the Titans to win the Spoon Bowl preview last week against Para, but what the Eels have done over the last 2 months, I think, after a slow start, credit has to go to Jason Riles for finding, I guess, an identity or a bit of a game plan for this Eels side. They're playing to their strengths or they're not playing to their weaknesses, I think might be another way to describe it. They don't have the cattle that they want right now, but they're playing very simple, repeatable football.
Yep.
That hit and spin shape with Junior Paulo on the 4-man is, I think they scored maybe 1 or 2 tries off that on the weekend. So I really like what they're doing. They've figured out what works for them, and they're just playing nice and simple, staying in the grind. Isaiah Iongi adding some very nice touches.
I just enjoy the way he plays his footy.
On top. Yeah, who does he remind you of? Willie Mason reckons he reminds him of a young Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He reminds me of Milf when he was playing fullback.
Yeah, I can see
Canberra.
Milford. Yeah, man, wasn't that a good couple of years?
So
electric.
quick off the ground, like the little goosey and then goes. He can ball play. He's got a nice tip and an offload in him.
He gets up for the high ball as well. He's got a fair set of hops on him too.
Like physically good for a young guy. I think that's probably been one of the most impressive things. So I'm going to take the Eels to beat the Dragons. Shane Flanagan, I'm going to be looking over my shoulder all week for him because he hates when people say his team's going to lose, but they're not doing enough right now. I don't know. Happy to be with the Eels here.
That's so what we're looking at 2 upsets already.
Yep, I'm going to take the upsets here. Give me Eels 1-12, and I'll take Isaiah Iongi anytime as well.
We might be gunning for 3 upsets here. Just another sensational segue, by the way, because your Rabbitohs are $2.45 underdogs to the Finns.
Yes, they are.
Who are shot to bits, unfortunately. Bostock out for the year.
Yep.
Finn Diesel, Felice Kafusi out for maybe 6 weeks,
4 to 6.
I believe. 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
Dolphins are somehow massive favourites still, despite going down to Newcastle last week. How do you see this one playing out, mate?
How did they lose to Newcastle last week?
Well, yeah, it says a lot. After putting up 1 million points the last month.
The week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Dolphins have been really impressive of what Isaiah Katoa is doing. We spoke about how deep Nathan Cleary played into the line for the Blues in game 2 for a couple of those title tries. Isaiah's the only one who comes close to that right now. The tempo that he's using spells danger for a South's middle that's been lacking, but the Rabbitohs are due back a few troops. I believe Cody Walker and Campbell Graham will be back this week, and maybe even a Brandon Smith in the reserves.
That helps.
I just think what the Rabbitohs have done, they're 0-4 against top 4 teams over the last month, but they've been in almost every single one of those games. They're just lacking the icing on top. But what they're doing in and around the ruck and in yardage, they're not the most efficient team carrying the ball out of their own end, but they just stay in the fight. And then guys like Latrell Mitchell last week almost added enough cherries on top. So, yeah, I'm happy to take Souths, assuming Cody's back in there to help Uncle Trell. Happy to take Souths to cover.
Yep.
And obviously, backing
Johnson.
Alex Johnson anytime.
So I don't think I got the question out to you on the potty. It's not if he's going to break the record.
It's when?
It's when.
Yep, please.
When do you think he breaks the record?
We need 7. The rate he's scoring could happen in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
it?
What was it, 4 last week?
Probably when Latrell comes out of the side, you would assume those tries dry up a little bit because that cutout shape is South's most repeatable action right now.
You do have the buy for Origin 3.
And we get a buy for Origin 3. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Look, that we play the Roosters in round 27. I think it'll be a pretty cool storyline talking about betting on the narrative if he was to break the record up against his crosstown rivals, but I have a feeling it'll happen before then.
He'll get there.
Yep,
My
so.
tip is the Broncos round 22.
Yeah,
I think that's a realistic timeline. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games.
4 or 5 games.
5 games, 6 weeks.
Yep.
I think he'll get it done there.
It's going to be a hell of a sight when Touchwood.
Let's talk one more game before we get out of here.
Yep.
Storm v Sharks, Sunday afternoon, Amy Park, Melbourne Storm, $1.33.
Yeah.
Cronulla's $3.35.
Yep.
Is there any world you see this not being a cricket score to Melbourne?
Oh, yeah, there is a world because that's the same world that I backed Cronulla to finish top 4 and minor premiers this year. Their attack's just fallen off a cliff, unfortunately. There's been a real noticeable effort to get Blake Brayley into a running role over the last month or so. It's coincided in some positive looks in attack, but it feels a bit cringe. Like it's too much. Like 2 weeks ago it was, all right, let's get Brayley running and Adam Fanua-Blake tipping. they did. That's all they did for the first 40 minutes. Scored a couple of tries, and then I think they let the Dragons back in. Same again against the Broncos last week. Fast starts, early points, but their inability to control or halt momentum. Unfortunately, Nico will continue to cop a lot of the criticism. His defense has been really poor, but his options with the ball right now, running his teammates out of space, and then him and Trindle both kicking the ball dead and making some really poor fifth tackle options.
Makes it hard, doesn't it?
They just put so much pressure on their pack. They got big bodies who are now using all that energy. Think, Korfusi, Rudolph, Braden Hamlin-Uele, AFB. They're using all that gas to defend now. I'm terrified about what Melbourne are going to do to the spaces between Nikora, Hines, and Jesse Ramian on the Sharks' right edge. There is not a team in the comp better than Melbourne at targeting and exposing a weakness, and that's the weakness for the Sharks right now. So, yeah, I think you backed Melbourne 13+ on the potty.
Yeah, definitely to cover. I'll be backing them 13+ personally.
Yep.
So you think their left edge is where all the points come from?
Yeah, with the who they have on the left wing?
Who's that?
Last week, Grant Anderson was there.
Granderson.
Assuming maybe Xavier Coates will be back. Whoever's that left wing, and I'll take the left centre as well, Jack Howarth, for a try.
Maybe a bit of money magic.
Maybe a bit of money magic.
Maybe a little bit of money magic.
Did he use it all in game 2? I hope so.
No, he's just got it in droves, I think. All right. That sounds like a pretty good week to me.
Fill up our cup before Origin 3. Fingers crossed.
Good to chat to you, Oscar.
Thanks, mate.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website